Good evening, everyone. It is 8 p.m. Eastern, and you know what that means. It's time for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. We got more of a crew than I expected here tonight. I almost got a full house with me. A bunch of the guys have shown up this week to talk a very busy weekend ahead in wrestling. We got a lot of shows going down, and we got a bit of some breaking news going on because it looks like WrestleMania might be changing locations. So we got a lot to get into tonight, folks. Stay with us and get ready. Your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast starts right now.
Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt, Big Gold Belt. All I really want is that Big Gold Belt, 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 Big Gold Belt. All I really need that Big Gold Belt.
Hello and welcome to your Big Gold Belt Wrestling podcast. Tonight, season 5, episode 16. We are so glad you are here with us for what is shaping up to be a very busy weekend in pro wrestling. We got a lot of shows to talk about because WWE's got stuff going on, AEW has stuff going on, NXT has stuff going on. There may even be some other stuff going on out there because it is Memorial Day weekend in America, so a lot of shows are going to be happening. A very busy weekend ahead. I got a lot of the guys with me tonight, so let me go around the room. I am Will up in the top right of your screen. Below me is Damian G down in the Lone Star State. To the left of him is the Giant Crab Jamal, and across from me on the upper left, our editor-in-chief, the boss man himself, Najir, is here tonight. Gentlemen, I'm glad to see so many faces tonight. I was ready for one or two. We almost got the whole crew together tonight for a big weekend. So how is everybody doing?
Good. Gotta keep you on edge. Make sure you all are holding it down.
That is for sure. We keeping things together, keeping things going each and every week here, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We are so glad you're here with us. And of course, all of y'all watching live on the stream, whether you're on X, YouTube, or Twitch, all the platforms. Glad to have you here with us tonight. So let's get right to it because we got some breaking news that came up this afternoon. I was just ready to, I was getting everything together to talk about all these shows happening this weekend, but we've gotten thrown a curveball all of a sudden. So some breaking news to open things up that has come out of nowhere. So according to, I want to make sure I have this right. This is reported from the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation. Came out with this afternoon. Apparently, WrestleMania 42 that was slated for New Orleans next year in the Superdome is no longer going to happen next year in New Orleans. Apparently, the word is they have been given money in the bank next year for New Orleans. They have also been told that they will get WrestleMania in an upcoming year in the very near future. It sounds like a deal has been made. Something has been renegotiated. And the rumor going around is that a very big offer came in for WrestleMania for next year. Now, there's rumors about that. Before we even get to that, we can just talk on. They had dates announced. It was going to be April. Let's see here. It was all set to go for
11th and 12th.
Yeah, that the weekend before Easter, as opposed to Easter weekend. They had the weekend announced. The Rock announced it, set to go. This hasn't happened before where they've switched cities after making like an official announcement like this. So the big thing jumping out of me is there has to be a lot of zeros involved to make this move happen so quickly like that. Mm-hmm. So of course, the first thing that jumped out at a lot of people was like, oh, goddamn, we must be getting WrestleMania Saudi. You know, who's got the most money out of it? They must have thrown up $1 billion. But as soon as I heard that rumor, I was like, well, wait, they're already getting the Royal Rumble in January.
So
I can't see the Rumble in Mania. Money talks, right? That's what
they bought all the WrestleMania season. Yeah,
just like the rumor of them saying they're going back to Vegas. You'll be like, well, they wouldn't go back to the same place 2 years in a row, would they? So at this rate, anything's on the board.
Anything's on the board as long as there's money. The price is right. It could happen.
Involved. Yeah.
Okay. That was my thought when I started hearing the Saudi rumors. I was like, nah, they already got the Rumble. I can't see it that close together. I was leaning towards, well, it's got to be London. It's got to be London. They've been talking about London. They'd put the feelers out there for London. They had John Cena talk about London. I figured, all right, London must have came to the table. And that was my theory. But then, as you mentioned, the theory going around this afternoon, the rumor going around that the folks in New Orleans are claiming is that Vegas was so successful that Vegas wants them back right away. And they're willing to entertain the idea. So, gentlemen, I'll go to you first, Damien. What are you thinking here? Saudi, London, Vegas Part 2? What are we thinking?
Well, similar to you, I had the same reaction thinking, okay, we're getting an international WrestleMania because you've heard so much clamoring about it. But then as I start to see people tweeting and people talking about it, it just it blatantly makes sense that whoever has the highest checkbook that wants to host it is like, yeah, let me get that. And Vegas does make the most sense from a traffic standpoint, a person traffic standpoint. It seemed to be very good for not only indie shows, but people going and coming to Mania. So a lot of people seem to have enjoyed their Mania experience in Vegas. I'm glad it's not Saudi. Now, if it comes back out, it winds up being Saudi. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Yeah, really? You're just alienating everybody now for your WrestleMania weekend. But if it's Vegas, cool. Like I don't believe it's had 2 in a row at one place. Correct me if I'm wrong. If that's
4
ever
and 5
happened.
in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Back in the day. Yeah. 4 and 5.
Way back when we were kids. Okay, so way back
88,
then.
89. Way back.
So this
Atlantic
would be
City. What's that place?
the boardwalk, does that still exist?
That's the home of GCW at this rate.
Oh yeah, that's true. So I'm hoping it's Vegas strictly from a selfish standpoint because it's quick for me to get there from Dallas. But if it's anywhere else, I guess we'll wait and see.
All right, Crab, I'm going to ask you this one. Is there possibly some other city out there that you think might be in the mix?
I sure as hell hope so. I mean, yeah, I hope so. Obviously, the easy answer is Vegas, but because of whatever metric of success you want to call it, I personally don't care about Vegas as a city. I think it's okay. Not a place that I need to go, but I do think that if not necessarily a smaller city, but WrestleMania is a destination event. It doesn't matter where you have it. It will be because WWE, as we've been talking about for the past couple of months, is going global in a meaningful way this year. So if WrestleMania were in Mexico City, it's not just because 21 million Mexicans live there. It's because they would tap into all of Central and Southern America, all of the Latin world. And you could say that in Spain, Madrid, Tokyo, and we've seen that the time zones don't matter as much as they used to. We've seen that having a show in Australia at 5 a.m. Eastern isn't the biggest deal that they thought they were going to have, because there's still a disconnect. There's the people that are there for the event, and then there's the people that watch at home. Not everybody's going to go to the place, even if it's at your town, because it's not like it's a championship watch party that they have if your team makes the playoffs, and then everybody just comes downtown to watch in like the big beer garden area. No, it's not even about that. It's about the fact that, is the city ready for this event? If they say they are, much like the Super Bowl or the Olympics or another massive yearly event, that they bid on, can this city have it and host it? And I think that Los Angeles, they have 2, brand new-ish stadiums. They're getting LAX together for the Olympics. So I don't see, Los Angeles is certainly big enough to host damn near everything, especially since they're coming for the Olympics next year. There's
commutes are still an issue there. They can't get that damn train system up and running for nothing. They've been trying to work on that since the Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
So and I'm not going to bore everybody with LA Metro Transit, but the train to LAX will be coming later this year. They've already connected Compton and the West Side, and the train goes to the beach, and the train goes to the mountains. I'm not saying it's perfect because LA is goddamn massive. Kobe Bryant took a helicopter to work. That's how big LA is. And
we just had LA have Mania 2 recently. So
right, but we're also saying that there isn't anywhere that should be overlooked. They're not doing it in Green Bay because it's April. They're not doing it in Seattle because they don't really have a true dome. It's cold as hell in Safeco Field. Though I would love for them to go back there. It's just I could see a Houston. I could see a Phoenix. I can see obviously Los Angeles. Jacksonville would be hilarious, but I could see Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And obviously New Orleans was on the table, but it's not anymore. And then, of course, there are other places with domes that don't give a shit about the weather, like a Toronto, like London. London in April isn't exactly, the tropics. It's cold as hell in London in April. So if you're not going to want to have that outside, so where are you going to have that? It ain't going to be Wembley. So it could be Wembley. They have a dome. But the point is that there are some cities that could do a thing. I think that they could go as far east as the Middle East because the time zones wouldn't be super prohibitive. I would love for WrestleMania to start at noon Eastern.
Daytime Mania. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Daytime Mania will be absolutely fantastic. But it doesn't even have to be Saudi Arabia because they have, Bahrain or Qatar or the UAE or something like that over there. Egypt is building a brand new city to replace Cairo as the capital. I mean, granted, yes, crazy far-fetched, rationale, but WWE is aggressively looking to tap into new markets, more specifically Europe in a major way, more specifically Latin America in a major way, and you can't overlook the Middle East and Northern Africa. So I think only because it's WrestleMania, with the time zones be prohibitive for its biggest audience, America and the UK, is why Japan and Australia won't happen. But realistically, I think San Diego is just as good as a shot as Toronto is just as good as a shot as Cardiff, Wales is just as good as a shot, because it doesn't matter where the shit is. The people will go. It's WrestleMania.
All right, boss. You thought you were saying Royal Rumble and Mania completely in Saudi the whole season. They're rolling out the checkbook. You think it's gonna happen there?
Yeah, anything Jamal said, fully don't agree because it's all about the money. This is what all of this is about. It wasn't just that long ago where Vegas wasn't even going to be the home of WrestleMania last year. And then a check was cut and Minneapolis got the consolation prize of, well, you know what, we'll give you SummerSlam for 2 nights. It'll be the first time ever. We'll see you during the summer. Because if it did matter, if the money didn't matter, then this would have went full steam ahead in Minneapolis, which has a new stadium, about 3-ish years old, which is a dome. So fine. It is a very logistical friendly city from what I hear, Jamal, because you've been there before. You went there for AEW, I believe. Yep. Now definitely we chatted on in terms of covering that at the AEW event there. And it's a beautiful stadium. We've seen it. You watch football, and the Vikings are hot, so their games get TV time, and you see it. So no brainer there. But when the big Brinks truck back up, well, you have to have the biggest Brinks truck in order to make things like this happen.
And you're telling me that somebody has a bigger Brinks truck than the government of Qatar?
No. So my point is the reason why Vegas was a big thing is because logistical friendly with the synergy of TKO. This was a mega weekend for them to put all the stars in line to make it happen and advertise as the biggest WrestleMania ever. Now, granted, I feel number one that and God knows I wanted to be in New Orleans, been to New Orleans for WrestleMania before. It's a beautiful city. It is very guest friendly or fan friendly to get to everything, especially walking distance for all WWE related things, and then
it's compact.
It's all you need, and it's good culture there, good food, good time, so on. But also after WrestleMania is over, it's a nightmare to get food. Just FYI, I think there might have been the biggest line ever for Domino's. I can't believe I waited for Domino's for 2 hours. No one else needs to know that, but I think at this rate now, I feel New Orleans got the consolation prize, Money in the Bank, cool, good for them. Them coming out with the news like that definitely feels a little bitter by them because obviously them having WrestleMania heightens the economy for that city. But Money in the Bank, I'm sure, was pitched in a way that will make them feel make it feel like a big deal to them. Maybe we do. I don't know. Do we get Money in the Bank and another show just like they're doing?
They said they're getting a future Mania. They are going to still get WrestleMania. It's just changing years. So
yeah, of course.
Apparently that's what they told.
Future, right? Yeah. Okay.
2 years, 3 years, who knows? Well, Indianapolis has that same deal where it's like,
right. So
get
get to the back of the line. Yeah, that future sounds real good considering like more stadiums are on the way. Yeah. I would imagine Washington gets a look in a couple of years as well too, with the new stadium coming back to DC. But
I think gotta get built first.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, soon as it's built, 1 year after it's going to be there. I'm just saying that line of when you're going to get yours is getting longer and longer at this rate. So I wouldn't take that with a grain of salt. But you know, when it happens, it happens. But my point of the matter is, I think the Vegas thing isn't official. I feel like it's a bluff, and I think they might be trying to juice more money out of the Middle East to get them to officially get the deal. And that's what I feel. I think going to Vegas twice is great for them. It's definitely a great safe haven. It will be just like AEW doing their residencies or them doing anything in Jacksonville where they know it's just going to be okay. If they don't break even at minimum, they'll definitely come out in the green. I feel this is a bluff to try to get Saudi Arabia or whoever in the Middle East to roll out more money to make it happen. That's just what I think. I 100% because we keep talking about them going overseas and them and their focus of global sort of domination and hitting all these markets. Well, yeah, that's still considered an overseas mania. So they definitely can use that as their tagline in terms of this mania, but it also will lock in probably their biggest paycheck they've ever gotten of any time with WWE if they're able to let them host a WrestleMania. I think that's what it's all lining up to be. Will be in Saudi Arabia. It will not be visitor. It will not be fan friendly. But damn, will it make that bank account light up like it got glitched or something from Y2K? It's going to be
a solid $1 billion just to get him to show up. and the rest of it be damned. It's like we don't need to show up $1 billion just from the moment they arrive.
Yeah, that thing gonna look like the GTA cheats from back in the day, man. You're gonna keep loading that money up till it breaks. It's gonna be all nines across the board.
Yeah, but I think you're making my point though, because I do believe, and I agree with you that the biggest bank is going to win. Now, what does that look like for an individual city? Like, how much is it worth it for them to have a WrestleMania in their town? Now, this is like, you know, a what used to be a singular day event, maybe a 2-day event has turned into a week-long event. And if the NFL can send 250,000 people to the parking lot of Lambeau Field, then, you know, it's not a matter of logistics. It's not a matter of what the people want. It's not a matter of who has food. It's literally a matter of, will the governing bodies of that region come up with the money to court WWE for the stadium? And it doesn't even have to be how much money you spend, because they can just give them a tax break or a discount or give them a tax break on production cost. You know, Los Angeles obviously has a lot of production houses where they wouldn't necessarily need to have WWE come through with all of their stuff. Same thing with Georgia, because Georgia's big on film nowadays, and so on and so forth. Or they'll give them a production credit to do a thing in the UK or Canada or Australia. But if it's just about dollars and cents, then yeah, A-Rap money. They made a song about it many years ago. But it's also to the point of, you know, what does it mean for a city to host WrestleMania? If DC, as a taxpaying resident of DC, I hope they don't build the damn stadium here. I don't care for shit where they put it. Put it in West Virginia. But I'm tired of spending money on stadiums.
It's going there. It's going where RFK is at.
That shit is stupid. But it's still to the point of, what would it mean for the city to spend more money to get WWE here? What does that look like? And logistically, everybody has hotels, everybody has restaurants, everybody has a metro system in general. So what would it look like for a city that wants to do it? And then what could they offer that New Orleans doesn't have? Just either A, more money, or B, more of everything else. Because New Orleans has hosted WrestleMania before. Or maybe WWE, because again, I really think they're leaning hard into this global localization thing. They're just not calling it anymore. What if they go back to what was that WrestleMania 3, where it was in 3 different places at once?
Oh hell
Two.
no.
2 is the one where they did that. Yeah.
Okay, right. So,
Oh hell no.
I'm not saying that they're going to run, UBS and the Georgia Dome and another place again. But what I am saying is, what if they did a 24-hour WrestleMania event across 3 strategic time zones?
See,
I'm not
never tried it again since 2. Lord no.
And that's the thing. Going to Saudi Arabia, they don't have to do any of that. They could just run 2 nights and be out the way. They're going to collect a big check. They don't have to pitch anything more granular than the fact that it's in Saudi Arabia and there's a big check in their account, and Saudi Arabia clearly has proven
a lot less work.
a lot less work. And Saudi Arabia has proven, 1, that they are a fight capital, and 2, that they know how to put out a WrestleMania-ish production. From what we've seen at what the hell is it, Crown Jewel and so on, like those were granular shows. They look like WrestleMania, which is to me the intrigue, because it's like, damn, if that wasn't WrestleMania, what the hell is their WrestleMania is going to look like? And if you've seen any of their other events, like their boxing events, like have you seen the Tyson Fury match not that long ago, where they had a concert that went on and they had these moving platforms that was happening when they were coming out? I could imagine that they are itching to have this opportunity to show the world that they are the biggest and best destination for anything combat sports related. So, and let's not get it twisted.
2030, because 2030 is their big, especially for that's when like Riyadh season is like nowish, but 2030 is like
it's all the time, to be honest.
Right, but the Crown Prince's big push to like Saudi's unveiling to the Western world is 2030, and that's when a lot of these major super projects are supposed to be happening. And I believe their contract, for their residency deal, the 10-year long deal that they have, should be ending sooner than later.
It's ending. That that baby getting this thing. So, but my point is that the check's going to clear. I think it's less work to be done.
The check is going to clear
probably logistically friendly, because they have everything there, because they continue to do these big shows and they've shown it across the different platforms. And then the other thing we need to consider is TKO. The first thing that happened in the TKO merger was TKO helped UFC solidify a deal for Riyadh season and for them to catch one of their biggest checks they've ever gotten. So they looked at WWE and said, I got that 10-year, $10 billion, whatever. We need that for the UFC. I could imagine TKO and them having such a buddy-buddy relationship that the Saudi prince called and said, hey, we want it this year. What you want? And they was like, we'll be back. And they came back with more zeros, probably a t-shirt to throw it in there for whatever reason. And it was like, yeah, cool, no problem. We'll send it next day. And whoever you had this year, just let them know, too bad. This is our year. I would be very surprised if it goes to Vegas wholeheartly and it ain't Saudi Arabia, because as you said, Will, they made an announcement from the boss himself.
Yep.
And for him to eat that, tells you it's a big business deal. They already know what the numbers were for Vegas. There was nothing that they had to prove or to reevaluate. They literally are probably still looking at those numbers from last year. So if they know those numbers were so good in the first place, they would have probably never even considered moving it for the next year, unless a new player has entered the chat and decided that, you know what, we wanted this year.
You can't refuse.
Offer you can't refuse. Money talks. That's it. And you know what's funny? None of us are going.
I don't know about that. It depends on where it is. But then again, I mean, I would love to be in Saudi Arabia for the Royal Rumble whenever the fuck they announce it. I mean, it's May. Like, can I get a hotel date or something? Can we get a date? We know it's in Riyadh, but damn, can I book a flight right now?
You know what's interesting? You know what's interesting? That the Crown Jewel now not being a pay-per-view and they're going back to Australia to occupy that spot. Did Saudi Arabia pretty much elevate themselves to the canon level of pay-per-views? And now those other, what do you want to call them? What are you watching right now, Damien? Dragon Ball. What's it called?
Dragon Ball, Team 4-Star, Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the bridge pay-per-views now. Are those just up for grabs at this point? Like, do the UK grab one of those, or sure got the other? Like, are they just going to just pitch those to whoever's just open for them at this point now? And since Saudi Arabia seems to want to be, like, as I said, in the canon 5,
they're in the rotation now.
Well, yeah, because if you didn't have a chance before and you have a chance now, then you have a chance. So, but that's that. Like, look, if Knoxville, a home, Mayor Kane came out of Knox County and said, "Listen, we want to bring WrestleMania to Neyland Stadium, and we blank check, whatever it is, done. It doesn't matter." I don't think they're superficial enough to turn down a blank check from Knox County to go, well, WrestleMania has to be in a city of prestige, like Vegas or London. Literally a blank check. It still cashes. It is what it is. But I do think that, yes, somebody did come with a better offer after the Vegas thing was in, and they're just going to honey dick them like they did in Indianapolis.
You get a future date at some point.
To be determined.
Like when those trades happen and future considerations.
Yeah.
They're just tacking that on.
They're getting an 8th round draft pick.
Yeah. That's exactly what it feels like.
Oh man. We will see. We will
So
see.
Will, let me ask you, since you didn't get in there, do you think by them doing this, do you think this creates bad business logistics for the future for other folks?
As long as they're giving people a comparable, so clearly they're offered NOLA something. They offered them that Money in the Bank consolation prize. They're claiming a future Mania. As long as they come through on all that and maybe some other stuff, who knows what else they told them, then I think it's fine. I think everything will be good, but they gotta live up to whatever they're telling them now that they're backing out, especially since they had a date involved. I think they gotta live up to whatever it is, or word will get around that, Vegas might show up or Saudis might show up, and you can't, even if you have a done deal and it's announced, it's not guaranteed. So they don't want that word out with people they're negotiating with for other events, because same thing could happen to a SummerSlam or a Survivor Series. So they got to make sure they're living up to whatever deal here, or, bad word will get around very quickly if they burn NOLA or Indianapolis on their future WrestleMania or, whatever. So they gotta make this work.
It kind of makes you wonder about the nature of the contract in that, like, obviously we're talking about WrestleMania next year, but the fact that the things were announced, somebody signed pen to paper, and it makes you wonder that if WWE purposely has an out clause that says, hey, we can back out with, a cancellation fee if it's by a certain time or something like that. And as a show of good faith, we'll do something else. But I wonder if that's just part of the contract, and that's just the thing that we'll never know, where it's just like, hey, this is the risk you run until the shit actually happens. Card subject to change. The card also be in the city.
There's got to be some windows in there where they can get out of it at some point before it's like etched in stone and a done deal. Yeah. All right, we'll see. My money is on, if it's Vegas, it's going to be Easter weekend again, just like it was this time around. If Vegas wants them back for the exact same deal, you run Easter weekend, and they'll give them some hookups to do that and probably pay them more money than they did this last time. So we will see how soon we get a definitive answer on this. All right, that took some time there. So let's do this. Let's go to our mid-show break, and then when we come back, we have a weekend full of shows to discuss. So there is a lot to get into, folks. Stay with us, your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. We'll be back right after this.
Looking to get your brand in front of people who eat, sleep, and breathe entertainment? Big Gold Belt Media is the place to be. We're all about reporting on movies, TV shows, conventions, and everything in between. And we want your brand to be a part of the action. Partnering with us means your sponsorships get featured right in the midst of our content. Plus, we're going to hype you up on all of our social media, connecting you with an audience that loves discovering new things from trusted voices in entertainment. We're easy to find. Just look for us on Big Gold Belt on all your social media platforms. Don't wait, reach out today, and let's start building something amazing together. Your spotlight is waiting here at Big Gold Belt Media, BigGoldBelt.com.
Thank you so much for being with us here tonight, folks, for your Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. Each and every Thursday night, streaming live, 8 p.m. Eastern. Living on in podcast form after the fact and on social media and all that good stuff. We'll give you the full rundown later for where you can find us at the end of the show. This weekend has a lot happening. It is Memorial Day weekend here in the States, and with the long weekend, there are shows booked. Now, I figure we'll do this in order because there's not really an easy way to do this. So let's start at the beginning on Saturday, and we'll go through Sunday and everything that's happening with all this stuff. So first up, Saturday night's main event is back this weekend on Saturday night on NBC in the States, 2 hours in prime time. I guess this is their third one they've done since the relaunch with the Saturday night's main event. So very tight show here. But I think compared to the last couple they've done, this may be the most interesting card as far as like they're definitely making, I think, a bit more of an effort on this card than some of the ones they've previously done. So we got 4 matches here. So we'll run these down real quick. Jey Uso versus Logan Paul for the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk and Sami Zayn versus Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. John Cena versus R-Truth. Not for the championship. So grudge match going on there with Cena and Truth. And Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre inside a steel cage. So we got a gimmick match, we got a title match, we got a tag team match and a singles match. And as many people I have noticed today are noticing, no women at this point announced for the show. Damian, I'm going to go to you first. What do you think about the Saturday night's main event? I think the big thing that jumps out to me is just there's star power on this show, but
Yeah,
the lack of women's kind of odd.
That's concerning. I'm hoping they change their mind before we get to Saturday. But as you said, the card itself, the people involved, that's must-see TV in terms of WWE television, WWE pay-per-views. For me, Saturday night's main event and a steel cage just makes sense. In my third eye, that's what I envision for a Saturday night's main event is the old-fashioned blue steel cage. You know, and I know we don't use that anymore, but it would be a nice touch, nice throwback touch if they used it. What I'm really looking forward to is if we finally get the Sammy heel turn that 99.9% of the wrestling community is saying is going to potentially happen, where he might side with Seth and Braun to be the third guy, or at least screw Punk over. Aside from that, I've become you, Will. For me, is it quick? Is it going to be done in 2 hours?
Right.
Can I go about my business after this is over? So thank you for listening to the fan feedback, WWE, and making these things quick and tidy. But that's the only thing I'm really looking forward to.
All right. I forgot to mention also, this is the beginning of their Tampa kind of takeover weekend.
Tampa run.
This is in Tampa. And then the next night, NXT is also in Tampa. So, and Raw will be also.
And Raw.
It's a bit of a residency. NXT's TV was going to be there next week. They've axed that.
Canceled.
So those Tuesday nights are a tough sell. So I think they were reaching too far with that. Crab, let me go to you. Something that jumped out at me on this is this Logan Paul match with Jey Uso, putting him on like network TV, maybe the best use in my mind they've used of him, but I don't know. It strikes me as kind of like a smart use of Logan Paul compared to a lot of times that they've done stuff with. I don't know. What do you think? Oh, you're on mute.
I think in general, this is another safe Logan Paul match. It's not exactly that they're trying to build him up to do whatever. He is definitely getting some notable wins under his belt, notable matches in general. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what they're doing to him. He's heavily protected. There's no way that he wins the belt, but a good looking match is all that Logan Paul kind of needs right now, especially since we're not talking about a pay-per-view, but he is, bubbling just under the main event scene, and they're ready to, when they're ready to insert him, and that could be sooner than later, then that's what we'll see. I don't think that will happen this year, but then again, WrestleMania Cleveland at the new stadium, that I think that is something that they could try to lean on it and go towards, because they have him there in the pocket and they're keeping him in the pocket. And then as soon as they are ready to have him go on his run, they absolutely will do that. So another safe match from Logan Paul. We see what you're doing, WWE.
Any other thoughts you want to throw in there before I go on to the Boss Man?
Well, I just want to say in general, another date for John Cena. Kind of surprised that he's going to be at this show instead of just doing the pay-per-view. So, okay, you're counting them down. I don't mind it.
Another date off the thing. Yeah, these guys right. Cena's doing Saturday night's main event, not just pay-per-view appearance. Yeah. But it's NBC. It's a big deal. So okay.
And also, real quick, you know what? Put R-Truth in the Hall of Fame right now.
That's what I want. I want to talk about R-Truth. Let's talk about R-Truth.
I want to talk about R-Truth too.
Getting his big match with Cena, because some people are being weird about this. I think it's great. I'm all for it.
It's great.
We know what it is.
It's 100% great. R-Truth has listen, let's put some respect on my guy. R-Truth is amongst one of the oldest active wrestlers on the roster. Doesn't look like it, because my man doesn't age one damn bit.
Yes,
and he might be older than 50.
I want to say he's in his low 50s. I'm looking right now.
But R-Truth
53.
Throughout the it looks good and it's not moving like he's 53. The John Cena sort of gimmick that he's been running over these years, whether John Cena was part-time, full-time, or Hollywood or not, was consistent. This is a great payoff for him, because if John Cena is on his retirement run, it only makes sense that he gets a match with his hero, as he said. But I would imagine that he's friends with him, and in doing so, this seems like a reward for one, everything in terms of what he's been doing the gimmick wise, but two, let's not pretend like R-Truth isn't around the corner from a retirement. So the fact that he gets to be able to do that in terms of closing in some of his final matches is good, and it's on a respectable event. It's one that we know the legacy of it. The synergy amongst the two of them being on it makes sense. It's a perfect storm. I would say if you had thought back a few years ago about what does a John Cena and R-Truth match looks like, it damn sure wouldn't align like this. So the fact that he does get a good opportunity and he gets to continue to be face and Cena gets to be heel is the unlikely match we would have never got, because R-Truth could not be R-Truth with babyface Cena. It's just not going to work. Now, granted, we need to tune in, because I am looking for R-Truth to try his best to break Cena out of character, and I know he's going to accomplish it. So I don't know. We don't call, and matter of fact, before we even think this is just strictly going to be a gimmick match, I actually expect some wrestling to go down. I actually expect R-Truth to give this a match that we may think he has an opportunity to win. And how does that look?
Title ain't on the line. He can pull off an upset. You never know.
Good. And it would be R-Truth's biggest moment of his career to do so. And that is not just a WWE plug, but it's just for all the things that he's done in terms of not having a title at time, but continue to stay relevant, always being sort of more or less that glorified cameo, that almost the Stan Lee of WWE at times. Like, you're like, I see what you're doing, Truth, and you just respect it, I think for him to have his moment with his hero, as he said, in character, but with his friend, both with Cena going out the door, and you would imagine R-Truth not that far behind, it's the perfect alignment of stars. I think if there's anything to watch for Saturday Night Main Event, it's this one. 100% this one.
I'm curious, how long do we think the match is going to go?
40 minutes.
A whole second hour.
Hey, 12 minutes soaking wet.
Less than 10. It's going to be tight.
Yeah, I say 6 to 8. Yeah. Is this the first time they're going to be wrestling since that Capital Punishment pay-per-view all those years ago?
Oh, you remembering shit there. That happened here.
I do remember that.
Yeah. Probably is.
Now,
Probably
if this is a squash match, don't look for me next week on the show.
If Vince was in charge, I'd say it might be a squash match, but
I don't even think it would happen.
I can see half the match is just Truth trying to talk reason to Cena to see the light.
Yeah, I don't see it
NBC gonna
happening.
want
I
Cena.
see Vince would have had Cena injure R-Truth in a backstage segment, and that would have been all the rub he would have got with this.
Ooh, that's right.
All right, it's gonna be an interesting one. It's gonna be an interesting show. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about with Saturday night's main event next week. Let's move on to Sunday, because Sunday we got a head-to-head battle. We got two shows, and now we'll start with AEW, since this is a lot of people saying the biggest show of the weekend, the one that really matters. Double or Nothing, and Double or Nothing's out in Arizona, right?
Yeah, they're in Phoenix area.
Yeah, Glendale at the Desert Diamond Arena is where they are running. So they are not running Vegas because they do not want to be right after a Mania like they have in past years for Double or Nothing. So I'll run down the card here and we can see what jumps out at us here. So at this time, we have 8 matches, and we know they love to add stuff, so I bet more stuff will probably be added. We have Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné for that's the finals of the Owen Hart Cup. Out there. Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin versus the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara for the AEW tag titles. Timeless Tony Storm versus Mina Shirakawa for the AEW Women's Championship. FTR versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness in a tag team grudge match. Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet in a stretcher match. Anarchy in the Arena is happening again. Their big brawl all over the building gimmick. So in this we have Kenny Omega, Swerve Strickland, Willow Nightingale, and the Ops, Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Katsuyori Shibata versus the Death Riders. So this is kind of like your Death Riders catch-all match for this show. So John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Marina Shafir, Wheeler Yuta, and the Young Bucks teaming up with them. So that's going to be your big free-for-all fit folks on the show. Okada versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the AEW Continental Championship. And last but not least, the Owen Hart Men's Cup Finals, which apparently will be main eventing the show. Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay is what rounds things out at this moment. Damian, I got a feeling you're probably been watching more of AEW than anybody here. Lord,
I'm sure you're sure.
I just see the clips online. So, what's jumping out at you here on this show?
Well, to the first thing, y'all know I'm not AEW's greatest fan, but I will say if this Anarchy in the Arena match leads us to some sort of closer to the end of the Death Riders angle, more power to them. I'd be interested to see how they integrate Marina and Willow just in the match in general. That'll be fun. And good on Jamie Hayter for coming back from injury and reasserting herself back in the women's division. And the Beyonce of the women's division, quote unquote, gets to show and prove to the fans that she is the Beyonce of women's wrestling. But for me, we're still here, huh? AEW, we're still here at All In, Double or Nothing, all these gambling style themes. Good on them for being around. But as I've told y'all before, the shine has long since left the trophy for me in AEW, and I don't think there's anything new here. Mark Briscoe and Ricochet, cool. Ricochet's established himself as probably the premier douche heel almost in all of wrestling, rivaling Logan Paul. So that's good on him for reinventing himself, getting there. Sneakily, though, Speedball leaving TNA/Impact to come on over to AEW has been a boon that I didn't even think was going to happen. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over on Okada. Because remember, and Will, you've said this before, this is not 2016 Okada.
No.
This is I'm here. I'm making my money. I'm going to try my best to put on a B+ match. But with someone like Speedball, I think he could pull something out of Okada that we haven't seen in AEW probably since he got here. So that's probably on the low what I'm really looking most forward to.
Okay. Crab, what's jumping out at you here?
Okay, so the place is going to be the arena in Glendale, where the Phoenix Coyotes used to play, where the Suns played before they moved downtown. And nobody plays there anymore. The teams have left. Glendale is not Phoenix. It's way out in the suburbs. Also, where Glendale is the stadium for the Arizona Cardinals. State Farm Stadium, or whatever they call it now. University of Phoenix Stadium. I am hopeful that that's where Anarchy in the Arena will take place. I'm hopeful that they will absolutely use all of that stadium, all of the area around it. I hope that they incorporate something from Phoenix. Somebody gets, a bed of scorpions just finds their way into the match. Giant, boa constrictors or, whatever the hell. I hope there's a dust storm or something, because so what if you moved it out of Vegas if there's nothing that makes it special for being in Phoenix? So Anarchy of the Arena is interesting because of the fact that if it's not going to be last to end the show, will it even be live? Will it be pre-taped?
Mm-hmm.
Will it be what they used to call the cinematic matches? Are we bringing that back for this thing? Because there was something in Jacksonville about having Daly's Place connected to the football stadium next door, having them use that, taking a 730 powerbomb off the second level into the club seats, into the pool, knocking out, having Adam Page sprint on a horse from the other end zone to the other end zone. I think that's what makes Anarchy in the Arena like a lot of fun. And I really hope that they get back to that. Otherwise, it's just another insert city name here street fight. Like, okay, cool. That's the thing that really jumps out at me. Otherwise, the finals for the Owen Hart tournament, the Owen Hart Cup, which are the winners earn a championship match at All In. Now, of course, the implications there, Jamie Hayter or Mercedes at All In? Is it Adam Page or is it Will Ospreay at All In? And of course, everybody can make a case for whoever they want. And the real question is, do I even really care? Because as much as I would like to see Hayter win, I do need Mercedes to move on from the secondary title into the main event picture, because she's the CEO, right? I mean, that's what she needs to do. Adam Page versus Will Ospreay seems like another kind of like zero-sum finish, because I don't really like either of those guys. And it's not that they can't work or anything like that. It's just that they're missing something that I'm looking for that they don't have. So it's going to be good to see Nigel McGuinness, wrestling again. I know that he has been. I know he hasn't really retired, but I haven't seen him in a minute. So overall, the show feels fine. I just really am looking forward to Anarchy in the Arena. They've had some time to polish it, and I think it's going to be hopefully a batshit crazy match that ends with somebody falling into the Grand Canyon or something like that.
All right, 2 Chains. Anything on here that jumps out at you?
No, I haven't been keeping up with AEW, so no. I will use the power of the social medias to see if there's anything to check out on the rewatch. So, yeah, but I'm with Jamal. Let's get crazy. If Darby Allin can go to Everest, then they can damn sure go to the pits of the Grand Canyon. Make it happen.
There we go. All right, yeah, no, I'm with you. I just see the clips online, so. If depending on what's up Sunday night, I might check some of it out, but there's nothing on there that I'm like, oh my God, I gotta see this. It's jumping out at me like that.
Yeah.
If anything, that Nigel and Daniel Garcia against FTR may be the most interesting match to me on paper, just looking at the lineup there. But that's also nothing I'm like, oh my God, gotta see it. So now here's the interesting part. So they got that show going on, and we're gonna have NXT directly against it from Tampa at the same darn time. So let's switch this over now and see what's going on here with NXT Battleground that same evening. So we got 6 matches announced here. We have Obafemi versus Miles Bourne for the NXT title.
Boy.
Stephanie Bakir versus Jordan Grace for the NXT Women's Championship. Joe Hendry versus Twick Williams for the TNA title. Tony D'Angelo versus Channing Stacks Lorenzo as like the explosion of the Mafia gang there that they've been building up. Sol Ruka versus Kalani Jordan for the NXT Women's North American title. And then a 6-man tag with Hank and Tank and Josh Briggs versus the Culling, Brooks Jensen, Nico Vance, and Sean Spears. A 6-man, I'm kind of like whatever on. But for an NXT show, I'm like, okay. That is a I'd say it's top heavy. The title matches are definitely interesting on that show between Stephanie and Jordan and Joe Hendry and Trick Williams has me really curious there.
History.
Okay. Well, what you got? You get in here first, then. You get in here first.
The TNA Championship being defended on an NXT pay-per-view history.
Right.
I hope Trick loses because I definitely don't want NXT to enter that conversation of, oh boy, they're just beating them down, using them and abusing them, and now they took the champion off the champion. What's next for them? Which, by the way, Trick is on TNA tonight while we're live.
He's been on the past few weeks.
Yeah. But it's always been good cross promoting, and I think they're building up the hype on both shows. That's how you properly cross promote. But let's just be honest now. This man, Miles Bourne, has been cutting promos like his rent is due.
Mm-hmm.
I am very interested. Will he be the one to dethrone Obafemi? Because first of all, the moment that Obafemi lose that title, straight to the main roster, which becomes even more interesting. And you know why it's interesting? Because everybody keep talking about who's going to be that third person in that stable with Paul Heyman and them.
Okay, timing is good for
Oba, Seth, and Brock Breaker. Hey, cut the show off tonight. Oh my God. Could you imagine seeing that pull up? Like, real talk. We talking about Evolution 2.0. I've been thinking the entire time, if it's not Trick, it's Oba. So one of them, I think, is heading towards that third person to be a part of them. And it definitely, there's no better sort of mentorship program you can enter going into the main roster. But I let's just be honest, this dude Miles is ready.
Very pleasant surprise.
Very
how quickly.
Whoever is Shawn Michaels in the kitchen per usual. We always give him credit with the women. He has to get his props for the men as well too. Obafemi and Miles are probably two of the best examples of people working through the system, being prime for television. And the future is just unlimited with those two. So that's the match I'm most interested in. I think the Jordan Grace and Stephanie Vaquero match could go either way. It should be a good match. Joe Hendry and Trick, as I already said. But much like these pay-per-views, I prefer them to be 5 matches. So the fact that it's 6 makes me wonder, where's the pacing issue going to be here? Who's going to get more time? Who's going to get less time? I don't want NXT shows to make to ever go longer than what we're accustomed to. We like the 4 or 5 banger, and we're out. 6 matches, which is all good up and down the card. I just like to continue my NXT flows to be what they are. So we'll see. But I'm expecting some exciting things coming out of this card.
All right, Crab, you want in here next?
I think obviously when you have Trick Williams versus Joe Hendry, and the idea of the TNA champion being an NXT superstar creates a world of possibilities that, honestly, especially with WWE, we never thought that we would see. So just because it would be the unexpected ending, that's the match that kind of piques my interest the most. Otherwise, Stephanie Vaquero versus Jordan Grace, there are very few dream matches out there just because of the internet and the renaissance of the indie scene. But this is a match that, I couldn't imagine that I would see, in any meaningful way. And not only is it happening, it's happening for a championship. It's happening on a pay-per-view premium live event. And it's happening in WWE. So just a lot of the planets are definitely aligning in a really interesting way. But I think overall, I don't know. Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams, it would just be interesting to have, and of course you got to think what would be in it for TNA to have an NXT guy win their belt? Well, you would have to turn in Thursday to find out. And I think that would be an interesting proposition for TNA to have that happen for a little while, because again, Trick Williams is going to have to defend that belt on the next TNA pay-per-view, on the next NXT pay-per-view, and so on and so forth. So a world of possibilities. And then, of course, Joe Hendry, as soon as he loses the belt, main roster. That's not, no, contracts are contracts, but as we've seen in New Orleans, the contract ain't the contract that you thought it was. Yesterday's price is not today's price. So, yeah. I mean, again, it could go either way, but I definitely think that if Trick Williams wins it, interesting. And I don't think Trick goes to the main roster anytime soon, not because he shouldn't, just because they don't need him. But Joe Hendry definitely has something. Joe Hendry definitely has something that is palpable for the main roster. They know that they want him there. You could argue the same thing with Jordan Grace. You can argue the same thing with Fakir. You could argue the same thing with Obafemi. It's not a matter of if, but when. But I think that of those 4 people that I named, one of them going to be there soon. Soon, probably being SummerSlam, Money in the Bank type of a thing. But yeah, Trick defending in TNA for the summer would be very interesting.
All right, Damian, let's hear it.
Well, you already know where I'm leading off this. Stephanie versus Jordan. I'll just say yes to piggyback off Crab. That is a dream match. But I also will say I saw Stephanie Vaquer a long time ago at a random lucha show here in Texas. And
what was that place called?
I'll tell you off it. Because it may not have been a legal show from what I remember.
Okay.
Martinez Lucha. That's the one.
Okay.
It wasn't the circus. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't the circus, was it?
No. It wasn't circus. It wasn't circus. So to know that one, I saw Stephanie Vaquer at a 7-hour lucha show, and to see Jordan
that sounds
Grace,
about right.
who I saw at a random mall in Dallas. That's where they were performing, at a random shindy. See where they are now. That one that says, damn, what have I been doing the last 7 years? But at the same token, it's good to see, on that regard. I view this as the coronation of Jordan, being that we've gotten those feelers out on Stephanie on the main roster, putting her out there along a bigger audience, and she seems to be well received. So that might be the coronation there. What I'm interested in on the men's side is who's not booked. Where's Dark State? Weren't they a big thingamajig the last, let's say, 6 weeks or so? And the whole, is Trick the leader? Is Javon the leader? Who are they? Is Oba the leader secretly? So the fact that they're not booked, I don't think it's because Sean's given up on them. I think they're going to get involved probably in the Joe Hendry and Trick Williams match more than likely. Because I see Charlie Dempsey costing Miles his title match because of jealousy, things of that nature. But I'd be interested to see if Dark State does get involved, because their version of the Shield was a big thing on NXT television, and the fact that they're not even booked tells me that they might have something more in store. So I am looking forward to the pay-per-view. And good on Hank and Tank. Y'all came out of nowhere as far as I'm concerned, because the crowd just loves y'all. Bunch of big boys slapping bellies and, good country eating. And all of a sudden now they're tag team champions. So good on them, and good on Sean Spears for still staying relevant, even though people would have thought damn, he's still here. So good on him. Good on Stan for still being around. And it'll be a good show. I'm going to be tuning in more to that, more so than AEW. So that tells you enough right there. There is of course the factor, one's on Peacock, the other is 50 Bones. So yeah, I always keep that in mind. So good luck to NXT.
There you go. A packed weekend. We will have a lot to talk about next week with all these shows happening and where all this how this all shakes out. All right. Let me do the rundown here, because we got the boss man here tonight. So we got to talk about what should be happening Memorial Day weekend when you're not watching wrestling. But before I get to that, let's run down the whole everything stuff here. So every Thursday night, 8 p.m., your big old belt wrestling podcast is live each and every week, streaming live on X, Twitter, oh my God, I'm all twisted up tonight. X, Twitch. That's what I'm thinking, not Twitter.
There we go.
Twitch, and of course, over on YouTube. After the fact, the video feed still lives on YouTube, so you can always check us out after that. And then the podcast version is available on all your favorite podcast platforms. So we got you covered audio and video. Over on the social media, you can find us at Big Gold Belt across the board, whether it's Blue Sky, Instagram, you name it. At Big Gold Belt is where you can find us. And of course, biggoldbelt.com, the website, wrestling, movies, comics, and more, which brings me to the editor-in-chief here, since we have him tonight. Big weekend, Memorial Day weekend here in the States. What should people be seeing? Lots of movies out, stuff coming. What we're not watching wrestling. What you recommending this weekend?
Maybe just Lilo and Stitch. I was okay with it. I didn't think it was. I think a lot of people saying it's the best live action. I was like, is it? But also that bar is not really high, so I think you can't go wrong with that. On that note, and is that it for this week? Lilo.
Last week we had Final Destination.
I like
Impossible.
I like Mission Impossible.
3 hours
That too,
of Mission Impossible.
But yes, it is 2 hours and 50 minutes. My theater had 15 minutes of preview, so you might want to bring your depends if you or have dinner after the movie. But I enjoyed it, especially if you like part one, especially if you like the series in general. I thought it was pretty solid. Not perfect, but it was pretty solid. But it is a 3 hour long movie. Make no mistake about it.
That's long for something like Mission Impossible. That sounds crazy to me. They went that full on.
Right. And if you gave me 3 hours, I couldn't tell you what the story was.
It's the pacing.
It's a cyber attack, and it's
does it drag or does it keep
No,
moving?
I mean it doesn't. It doesn't do any
drag.
of that. It doesn't really drag at all. The pacing is fine. It doesn't really feel like 3 hours. It's just that at the end of it, it's too complicated for no reason, and the story it kind of goes in like a Fast and the Furious direction where you go like, okay, they're just doing shit to do it now. I get it. But then they also put a lot of the effort into the stunts and stuff like that into the story. So it's not just, hey, we got to do this one simple thing. It's like, yeah, we got to do this one simple thing that has 47 addendums, and it's worse than an IKEA, bed that you're putting together. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that's where the 3 hours came in. But a lot of callbacks from 30 years of Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise looks good for 103. That Scientology juice is working. But yes, it is a long one.
The Messiah Cruise was in that movie. That's one thing I knew. The plot of that movie is this is a cyber attack, and there's only one person that can save it, no matter what.
No matter what.
The Messiah.
There's also one other movie that's out of the big stuff that could slip through the radar. Paul Rudd is in a movie called Friendship, which is pretty interesting, where he is not him, but another guy who's kind of a loser, wants to be friends with a really cool Paul Rudd, and they're like, no. So then things kind of get weird as this like really lonely guy really wants to be friends with Paul Rudd. And it's like, why would you want to be friends with Paul Rudd? But then again, it's also a movie, so acting. But yeah, so that was kind of a weird one. But that's if you don't want to see Lilo and Stitch, or if you don't want to sit through Final Destination 6, The Bloodline, or Mission Impossible being 9 hours long is too much, then Friendship was actually a really weird one. That's that's going to slip through the cracks from this weekend.
There you go.
Also,
All right.
Tom Cruise is here in Dallas. He's actually here popping in on random screenings of Mission Impossible. He was in near my job today by City Hall. So everybody was like following him around. So if you like to turn your brain off during movies, popcorn style, then definitely watch Mission Impossible. I just want to know what Tom Cruise's 40 time is, because the way he be running throughout all these movies, I just want to see what his straight line speed is. Let's get an NFL combine set up for Tom Cruise, because man, that guy covers some ground in that movie.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go, folks. Your weekend movie picks when you're not trying to check out all these shows. Bunches of options for you this weekend for Memorial Day weekend here in the States. Next Thursday, 8 p.m., we will be back. We are going to have a lot to talk about with all these shows going down. So we hope you are here next week, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. If not, you can check out the feed after the fact to hear how this all shakes out. Maybe we'll know where WrestleMania is by then. Glad to see Cupcake in the comments tonight. Cupcake always checking in each and every week on our live stream. Glad you were here. If you were watching tonight, hit that subscribe button, hit like it, all that good stuff. And until then, we'll see you next week. Watch some wrestling, watch some movies this weekend, and we will talk to you later.